Time to go into some theory. This comes straight from microeconomics textbooks. What is a public good? A public good is like the stars in the sky. I know it sounds like a Coldplay song, but it's a really good example. Why? Because public goods have two main characteristics. First of all, they are non-excludable, and also they are non-rivalrous. What does these fancy words mean? Non-excludable means that nobody can impede you to access a public good. So for example, if there's a beautiful park, but you have to pay an entrance, then it's not really so much of a public good. If there is amazing code, but you need to pay a license to use it, then it's not a public good. Now, the second thing is it's non-rivalrous. That means that your consumption of the public good doesn't impede other people to consume it. I know that consume is like a weird word, but it's typical from the economics, so we need to use it. But think of it like this. If you look at the stars, I can look at the stars as well. It's not that we see less stars because you're already looking at some of it. Instead, if I'm eating a lovely fruit I took from the forest, well, then you won't be able to eat the same fruit, or at least not the whole fruit, because I'm already eating it, right? My consumption is going to impede you to consume it. And that happens with a lot of goods in normal economy. Now, there are some cases in which it's not so easy to define if something is excludable, or even more, if something is rivalrous or not. For example, let's think of public education. Let's say I build a school for kids, like a kindergarten, and I'm able to get like 1,000 kids learning there. It's like a big building with a lot of fancy, lovely things. That's super free, and that's like super open to everyone who wants to go. And if there are like 500 kids, you can also get your kids in, and it will be okay. You won't be bothering other kids. However, at some point, if we are already 1,000, if we reach our cap, the maximum students we are able to accept, then your kid joining will leave other kids outside of the building, outside of the kindergarten. So yes, this idea of public education, it's non-rivalrous at the beginning, but it gets rivalrous at some point. Sorry for the pronunciation of rivalrous, it's like a very weird word, getting very tricky for me to pronounce it correctly. Now, if I do a YouTube course or an online academy like the Optimistic Academy, then it is like 100% public good, because you watching our videos are not impeding other people to watch the videos. So these kind of tricky situations push developers of economic theories to come up with a new word, which is quasi-public goods. Quasi-public goods are these goods that are like, yeah, really look like public goods, but don't exactly fit the definition perfectly. Like the example I just gave you with public education, or for example, if you are building an open bridge that people can use to go from one island to the continent or the other way around. Yeah, it's open, you can use it, no problem, but if there are like 100 tracks on it, you won't be able to fit. Now let's push it to the crypto space so we can get things a little bit spiced up. The best example for public goods is the one I already gave you before. It's open source code. That's code that everybody can use. That's code that you can use and other people can use at the same time. And this is 100% open. Nobody's gonna say something like, yeah, you can use my code, you cannot, you can do, but you cannot, and that and that. I mean, you could do that, but it wouldn't be a public good anymore, right? Another very good example is education. Education and community building, these open events, this open academy, people creating content on Twitter, Medium, Mirror, YouTube, whatever, that's also a public good. So these are the crypto examples of public goods. I do have a little question for you. Do you think the blockchain is a public good? By the way, everything we're talking about here raises a lot of discussion among people. So some may think, no, this isn't. It gets weird, it gets funny. There's no like one single source of truth, as you already know from one of our first videos. But let's go with the blockchain. I already gave you some time to think. I invite you to pause the video, think a little bit more, try to come up with an answer yourself, and then keep watching to see the way we think about it. Yeah, I'm just waiting just in case you didn't pause the video because you're lazy. Come on, man, think about it. Okay, so is the blockchain a public good? And there are two faces of the same coin. The blockchain, as in terms of blocks connected and transactions utilizing block space inside each of those blocks, is absolutely not a public good. Why? Because you are paying to get your transaction in. It's not like free and open for you to get in. It's also not like non-rivalrous, because if you get your transaction in, then it means other people won't be able to fit in that block. We have to wait and maybe get excluded forever if they are not willing to pay enough gas. So the blockchain, as the blocks and the block space, is not a public good. It's actually the business model of blockchains, right? They generate revenue in terms of fees of people paying to get their transactions secured by the network. But there is, however, this other side, this other thing we have to consider, the open source that's used to get their blockchain running. All the clients, all the implementations, everything there that's free and that's open is indeed a public good. Again, if it wasn't for Bitcoin, there wouldn't be Ethereum, there wouldn't be Optimism, there wouldn't be other layer 2s, there wouldn't be tons of applications and tons of new things building. So yes, the code is a public good. Now, how do we solve the problem of sustainability and funding on public goods? That's where RetroPGF comes in. RetroPGF is the fancy word for retroactive public good funding. It's this idea we already introduced with the Ether Phoenix and everything that has a given name and is set up in a given way that of course we will explain in the next video. So stay optimistic, see you there.